Hello, everyone. My name is Fernando Hetiadra. I'm an ICF designated Master Certified Coach and an eclectic psychotherapist. Today, in this video, we look forward to looking at ICF Team Coaching Competency number 1. Having said that, this is a series of videos discussing practical insights of how do we implement the team coaching competencies of International Coaching Federation in practical application. I would like to mention I'm the founder of Ignite Global, an ICF accredited coach education provider. While we provide ICF Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3 training, particularly we specialize in delivering specialization programs. Among many coach specialization programs, ICF Professional Coaching Advanced Mastery Certification for coaching groups and teams is one of our key offerings. And I am the creator of this program. In fact, I created this program way before even ICF introduced the ICF Team Coaching Competency Framework. Therefore, you would imagine that this is a mature program. And I am very fortunate that I have a global, global set of faculty members joining across the world delivering this program. And all of these faculty members are going to be joining with me as we create this set of videos, giving you some insights. How do we incorporate practicalities of ICF team coaching in real world? And I invite you to follow the rest of the videos one by one as you gain insight. And also, I believe you are here because you are either interested in professional coaching, perhaps you are already a credentialed coach, or a leader looking into how do we create efficiency, cohesion, collaboration, harmony, and many other aspects within teams. So this is a warm welcome for you to engage with us. And also, as you continue this through this series of videos, you will notice that in the description, you will find how to connect with us. If you have any questions, if you would like to share any insight, you are very welcome to reach out to me, my organization, and also our faculty members. So as we begin this video series, as I mentioned, this very first video is focusing on how a coach embodies the team coaching mindset and ethical foundation. Now, in order for us to discuss this topic today, I have one of my esteemed colleagues who is also one of the faculty members at Ignite Global for this program, Professional Coaching Advanced Mastery Certification for Coaching Groups and Team, Kimunya Mugo. Now, I would like to invite Kimunya to introduce himself. Kimunya, over to you.
Great. It's a delight, Fernando, to connect with you and to have this conversation. As Fernando has mentioned, my name is Kimunya, and I'm based in Nairobi, Kenya, just going around the global nature of Ignite Global. It's a joy to be here with you to just explore some of these questions that look at how then do we become better as coaches? What are some of the things that we might need to look into? And we are looking at them from a very practical perspective. I'm a certified executive group and team coach, and also an alumni of Ignite Global. So the program we're going to be talking about today, I've experienced it and I've seen it working, not just for me, but in the marketplace. So looking forward to having this expansion. And even as we start off, maybe Fernando, from where you sit, when you look at team coaching and look at the teams that you're coaching, how then, as a coach, how has your perspective changed to looking at the team as a living system, as a living entity, instead of a collection of individuals?
This is a very valuable insight, Kimunya. I think perhaps we can answer this question with distinguishing not only the living system from individuals in a team environment, but also looking at it from uh, all three aspects of individual coaching, group coaching, and team coaching. Especially if those who are joining us and watching this video, if you are an individual coach at the moment, or if you are a leader, perhaps being exposed to coaching, might be wondering, how do team coaching competencies come to play in real world? So therefore, for us to understand, and also the difference between these different types of offerings. So I would like to begin this short sharing by saying that if you look at the ICF core competency framework, which is in alignment with mainly individual coaching, when we run, for an example, group coaching, it's quite closer to the individual coaching. And that's also where the answer comes to this question. What is the difference between a living one unit system from a set of individuals in a group environment? So if you look at a group environment, very often it could be different leaders coming from different organizations, from different background for leadership development. So their intention within this coaching environment, the group coaching environment, is to work together, perhaps learn from each other, inspire each other, and create some accountability among themselves. But however, when they step into real world out of this coaching experience, they are going to achieve their goals, perhaps their leadership. They are going to implement their leadership in an individual context. So that is a good example of where people work together, yet they are individuals, different individuals within that unit. However, when we look at team coaching, with the introduction of ICF team coaching competencies, the kind of approach, the way how we work together, the way how we achieve goals, and the way we provide accountability, all these change in a team environment. And also, it requires an elevated way of operating within a team coaching environment. Now, getting to the direct answer. So, you notice that in actual team environments, there's a shared purpose, there's a shared goal, and everyone must contribute to this shared goal, shared purpose, in order for us to be able to achieve this specific shared objective. Therefore, we look at this shared purpose is being implemented by a cohesive unit, a living system, rather than looking individuals. And I also believe, now, since you ask about how did my perspective change, now, the first thing I would say is, it was the first experience of perspective is that how complex it is. Because instead of now, when there's one-on-one client, if not individual client in front of us, directly asking, directly inquiring something about that, about the client world, now we bring in the complexity of inviting an inquiry, yet having to create the cohesion as a unit, as a living system, because it is a shared goal. So the very first thing that shifted in my perspective as a team coach is being able to engage this unit, not just individuals, the entire unit, to engage in the coaching conversation and enabling them to move towards this shared goal. And I believe that is exactly what we discussed throughout this competency series of competency videos. And also, if you are continuing to professionally develop as a team coach, this is where approach would be. So this is a very short introduction to how we work with the cohesive living unit, one unit, instead of working with different individuals. So thank you, Kimunya, for the question. And perhaps let's build on this. So Kimunya, we were just having a little chat before we started this recording. And then you mentioned that you're already working with several organizations, several teams. You have a wealth of experience working with teams. Therefore, I would like to pick your brain a little bit, building on this initial inquiry you made. So, one of the most common questions coaches ask is, how is team coaching different from facilitation, training, consulting, or mentoring? Because you also have a consultant background, Kimunya. So, how do you, as a professional coach, as a team coach specifically, make these distinctions in your own practice?
Hmm. That's a very, very valid question and a valid comment. I think one of the misconceptions about, especially when you're going into coaching, into team coaching, is going in there as the resolver or the helper or the uh, so to speak, Superman. You're the one who's coming in to sort out things for the team. Um, and when you think about this fast competency, it's talking about the mindset. So how do I show up even before the work starts? And the interesting thing is that the distinction starts even before I show up for the team. So as I'm preparing offsite, um, it's thinking about how do I show up with an open mind, with clarity, so that I am able to support this team towards its intended goal. It's not about what I want to achieve as an expert. It's what does the team want to achieve, and how do I facilitate that process of where they want to go. So it's actually showing preparing even before you show up, that mindset. I'm a coach, and I'm coming here to help them introspect, to help them have meaningful conversations, to help them uh, challenge status quo from where they sit. Yeah, so it's more preparation. The preparation happens more before even show up. So when I'm thinking about the distinction, providing the distinction, of course, facilitation is easy because you can come in with, start off with step 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to get to where you're going. But the question is the fact that you're not in their ecosystem, every day, you're not living it as they are, then how do you help them to continue living it and more or less navigate towards maybe a challenging situation that they have to deal with and come out together as one, in one mind, driving the same agenda, driving toward the same outcome for the sake of the whole, not for the sake of each individual. Of course, each individual will gain in the process, but how well, when I think about it, if this team was to walk into an emergency room at the hospital, how well will they come out as they're being discharged, so to speak, so that they are healthier and better and more cohesive? So for me, it's very important for me to have that distinction first in my mind, because then I'm able to help facilitate these distinctions within the team. And I think we will look at this in a bit in competence 3, um, about now the mechanics of how it works. So this is the software, the mindset, having that clear distinction in your mind, because then you're able to navigate that with the team. And then we will also look at what are the mechanics in competence when you're looking at competence 3 of how you differentiate team coaching from facilitation, training, consulting, mentoring, um, and so forth and so on. Yeah. So and that also helped me think about something else, Fernando. When you are actually coaching the team, you might find yourself in a space where you need a more directive intervention, because maybe the team is stuck. They are all stuck in their ways. They are stuck in their own ideas. And the question then becomes, how do you decide when to remain in a coaching approach and when other team development modalities are necessary to serve the team's goals better?
Thank you, Kimunya. I think this is clearly an elevation of your sharing. If we think about how do we use a more directive approach, I think this is also an area where very often individual coaches have to gain a deeper understanding of what does it mean to bring a directive approach. Now, let's approach it from the understanding of individual coaching. So in individual coaching, we do not use the directive approach at any times during the coaching sessions. That this much we are aware. Now, one of the key mindsets that we develop as a professional coach or a leader using coaching skills is that not to lead the coachee towards their goals, not to tell the coachee how to do and what to do, what should be done. Now, when we say directive approach in team coaching, it's absolutely important for us to keep this key principle, if not the mindset that we have developed. So when we say we use a directive approach in team coaching, it does not entail in any way that we direct our client towards their goals or we tell them how to do, how to achieve their goals as such at all. The directive approach comes from a place of, like you said, what if they are stuck? What if we cannot unstuck them just using a coaching approach? Now, for an example, in individual coaching, we sometimes, some of the coaches, especially in organizational context, we use different tools. They could be personality assessments, they could be leadership assessments, aptitude tests, psychometric tests, and so on. So, in individual coaching, we already have some experience in incorporating directive tools, although it falls outside of the coaching contract. And in simple terms, within group and team coaching, we also can incorporate, for an example, assessment tools, psychometric tests, aptitude tests. For an example, we can use team dynamic assessments. We can use team effectiveness tests, for an example. So that is one of the simplest ways of using a directive approach. Perhaps using a team dynamic assessment or a team effectiveness test help us to unstuck the team from where they are at the moment. Now, I would say that is the simplest form. But when we work with teams, especially dynamics, multicultural teams, it gets much more complicated than that. As we understand, a team coaching environment usually involves many individuals within this cohesive unit. So that means not everyone in the team will have the same level of, perhaps, let's say, the efficacy of soft skills, emotional intelligence, even the technical skills. So this is where you and your co-coach, if not in ICF language, the sub-coach, identifying such individuals, perhaps identifying subgroups or identifying team-wide needs to develop emotional intelligence, develop technical capacity, maybe creating some awareness around soft skills. So this, it falls outside of the team coaching. It is not team coaching, yet you may have to implement if you have the capacity or if you know another colleague, perhaps your partners, those who can deliver these other services. In a collaborative discussion, you can bring in this kind of different services, different practices into your contract, perhaps the larger consultancy contract, where team coaching is one part of your development or the team's development that you deliver, and then also other services that would help the team to, in Kimunya's question, to unstuck, for an example, or further grow or enhance their efficiency. And that's just another one layer. Beyond that, if I just tap into another um, two aspects very briefly, how about conflicts? Perhaps not all coaching intervention could resolve all conflicts. How about stakeholder engagement? When we work with the unit interacts with many other ecosystems. So there are stakeholders. So when we engage the stakeholders, when we resolve conflicts, when we develop uh, the team's soft skills, emotional intelligence, we would require more than coaching. And that's where we can use the directive approach, not telling the team how to do, what to do, or how to achieve their goals.
Mhm.
Thank you, Kimunya. So, with that, so we are starting to recognize we are wearing multiple hats as a team coach. So, when we wear multiple hats, delivering a team coaching consultancy within an organization, how do you maintain trust, transparency, and clarity when fulfilling these multiple roles, Kimunya?
And I was just thinking when you were talking, I was just thinking about the a juggler. You have so many items, 5 or 6 items in the air, and you must keep all of them safe. Uh, and actually, what you're juggling is like glass balls. So how do you ensure that they don't fall down and break? And the first thing is actually the listening aspect. It's listening to the team or to the needs of the team, not to answer or not to ask your next question, but to fully appreciate and empathize where they are, understand what they're going through. You might not completely comprehend the extent of it, but the moment each individual team member feels that you are listening genuinely, that's where the trust begins, even before you ask anything. Yeah. Not to come through as judgmental in the sense of, and when I'm talking about coming through, it's not just the words, it's also your embodiment, your facial expressions, how you're sitting, how you're aligned to them, in terms of the where you, if you're sitting around the table, how are you leaning into what they're talking about? So I think that's where the trust begins. It begins with the listening, and listening to appreciate, understand, and empathize. And what I found out is that once trust is built at the very beginning, then the other two actually follow very, very closely. It's more like a domino effect. Transparency and clarity will follow very, very quickly because of the building the trust. And one way that I've also uh, brought in the aspect of just bringing the cohesion and the closeness is even how I introduce myself. Yeah, the moment I'm vulnerable in the way I introduce myself to them or our first engagement, I find that the doors open much more. And the interesting thing is that people start joking around even personal issues, within the team, and that's when you've broken the ice. The trust is there, but the transparency is also being very clear about some of the non-negotiables that you're going to have as during the engagement, uh, where the boundaries lie. And again, in competence 3, you look at how then do you create those boundaries. And the boundaries are what is on the table, what's not on the table. How do you also breathe as you're growing? How do you expand those boundaries and negotiate them together as a team, between the team and the coach, and also amongst the team after you've exited the stage as they're going along the execution side. And then, why are we here? What brought us here? That's where the clarity is. And once I walk in there with that mindset of the having an exploration on the why we are meeting as a team, what that does is that it also, at individual level for each team member, it opens them up to also explore wider on their own personal why they're coming in to joining with the team. So I think those are the 3 levels I look at. Trust is listening first before jumping in. And then that opens up in terms of transparency, but then the clarity of the why we're coming together that becomes very important. And now the clincher is at each coaching session, the 3 must work in tandem. In fact, I look at them as in the olden days of our grandfathers-in-law before they got um, LPG gas and all that. They would cook around the fire, and the fire had 3 stones. Yeah, and that's why you put the pot. Now you couldn't cook if all the 3 stones were not there. If one stone was missing, the pot will tilt over. So I look at this as a triad of what must be present as you're playing those multiple roles as a coach. Trust, transparency, and clarity must come together so that you're able to cook a meal that you're going to enjoy as a team together. Yeah. And with that, also during the coaching sessions themselves of the coaching journey, you find that at a personal level, you might find some mindset shifts that are coming in. And I'm curious to hear from you, Fernando, what kind of mindset shifts have happened to you when you transitioned from individual coaching to team coaching, or maybe you're coaching a CEO, and from that coaching process, he sees that his team actually needs to have a team coaching. So how do you transition from that individual coaching to the team coaching in your mindset?
Thank you, Kimuna. I really loved your example about needing three stones to be able to cook a meal. It's a really wonderful analogy. Thank you. Yes, so answering your question, how do we transition from individual coaching to team coaching? This is a very important question because you brought up a scenario where uh, perhaps our viewers, you're already coaching a leader in an organization, and the leader starts to recognize the power of coaching and they become curious in how you offer team coaching. And how does this transition happen? I think Kimon answered this question to a great extent because of the relationship that you have built and also the power of impact value that individual coaching creates. You already have established your first step into the organization. And I believe um, in the very first stages, really enabling the team that you're going to work with, understand what it is that team coaching means and what to expect, what team coaching is, what team coaching is not. Helping them understand this is very important. Now, in that journey of establishing a potential team coaching engagement with your client, I think one of the very key aspects, although currently we are discussing about ICF team coaching competency, something that I would like to share with you from a practical perspective as a team coach who deliver day-to-day team coaching is that it requires so much more than what is beautifully articulated under ICF team coaching competencies. What do I mean by that? This is especially when you go through the transition process. When you run a individual coaching session, perhaps you meet with your client for the first time for a few minutes, 15, 20 minutes. Very often we call this the initial consultation. And our focus is how um, matching we are, how compatible we are. We call it chemistry call sometimes. And then once you notice there is right compatibility, and then you explore, is this topic a coaching topic? And once this is clarified, your next step would perhaps is a more comprehensive consultation. Very often in the coaching world, we call it a discovery call. Now, within this discovery call, you understand what are clients' challenges, what are their needs, goals, and what are they trying to achieve. As they are trying to achieve that, how would their autonomy would grow? And then you show up in the next session as your first regular coaching session. And then there's a series of regular coaching sessions until the end of the coaching engagement. So you notice individual coaching is quite straightforward. But when it comes to working with groups and teams, it doesn't work in such a simple scenario. Meet the team once for 15 minutes, create a discovery call for 90 minutes, and then show up in the next coaching session as a regular team coaching session. It's not that simple. There's so much more that needs to happen before you step into actual team coaching. So, for an example, how I would like to address it is that you need to approach working with groups and teams within organizations as if you are providing a consultancy. Now, when you deliver a consultancy, in very simple terms, before you implement any solutions, there is a phase where you analyze and get to know their problem, get to know who the client is, get to know the client's ecosystems, get to know clients' problems, get to know the stakeholders involved in the specific solution client is looking for. Team coaching is very much like that. It's important first we understand the client's world in depth. And these aspects are not necessarily covered simply within team coaching competency. And that's why, as I mentioned earlier, when I created this uh, group and team coaching mastery certification, which is fully ICF accredited now and support you towards ACTC, initially I created this program as an organizational development specialist program, especially using a coaching approach. The reason is that before even you enter the team coaching room, there's so much work that needs to happen. So in Ignite context, the way how we educate our group and team coaches, we call it scoping stage. There's a thorough scoping stage, very much like in a consultancy project that you need to engage, must be included in team coaching as well. And we need to learn how we do that. And at the same time, as we go through the understanding of the team's world and the goals they would like to achieve and the growth of the team, it's also important to understand what are those specific goals, agreements for each team coaching session. And also now, Kimonya and I both discussed about many directive approach. So even before you begin the team coaching engagement, you are required to even recognize what may be some of the directive approaches I need to bring into the table. Perhaps you need to include some executive mentors. You need to include team efficiency tests. Perhaps you need to use some uh, personal development, soft skills development, emotional intelligence training. So all of that need to be considered at the beginning of the stage, at the beginning of the transition. Therefore, usually at Ignite Global, we educate our practitioners first to create a scoping stage, scoping contract, deliver the scoping contract, and at the end of the scoping contract, then to propose the team coaching journey. So that is how the transitioning happens. So thank you for the
Mm.
question, Kimonia. And
Mm.
now let's dive into a little bit more about the practicalities and what is around this transition. So when you look back on your own journey, what you believe is one of the biggest misconceptions coaches, currently practicing coaches, have about team coaching.
Yeah, I think the biggest one is that team coaching or group coaching is easy because if you're a very competent one-on-one coach, that it's just going to transition. It's seamless. The reality is that it's not. It is not. Um, there's much more required for you, and I think you alluded to that in your previous intervention. There's much more required even before you show up. You know, like for example, in the scoping, who are the stakeholders? Who are these team members? How do you even start connecting with them before even the actual coaching starts? So the connection starts way before even the coaching engagement actually begins. Yeah. So I think that's a big misconception that it's going to be easy. And I personally thought, since I've been practicing one-on-one coaching very well, the team coaching was going to be very, very easy. And then I realized when I tried to do my first team coaching, I realized, wow, this is this is way bigger than I thought. And actually, that's one of the reasons why I decided I need to equip myself and retool so that I'm able to show up for my teams in a better way. The other misconception is that, and this is not across the board, but it can be very dangerous if you're not careful about it, especially during the scoping stage, is that you can do it alone. You know, you are competent and you can do it alone. Um, one of the things that I realized, I think earlier on, especially when you're coaching larger teams, is that there are some things that you are going to miss out. And therefore, what I did is that I was very fortunate to have a co-coach who we connected very, 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 very well, you know, from not just the delivery of the coaching, but also in terms of our values, our practice, our way of thinking, our mindset. And what then that did is that when we were coaching, I remember it was a team of 13 um, senior managers. As I was, for example, if I was the lead coach in that case. As I was engaging with the question at hand, what my co-coach would do is that they would be able to look around the room and be able to pick up nuances that I would not be able to pick up because I'm concentrating maybe on one team member who's making us a submission, for example. And the interesting thing is that some of the game-changing uh, interventions came from my co-coach because there was a team member who was very quiet, but his body language communicated something contrary to what the team leader was saying. And therefore, my co-coach, and we had designed a way of communicating in between sessions. She was able to intervene and we were able to help resolve that issue. So the other misconception is that you are able to do it only as a team coach, but it's important to also understand the nuances of the team and welcome, as you mentioned earlier, another expert to sit in with you so that you're able to facilitate that coaching process in a more meaningful way. And that's a second misconception. The third one is that it's linear. The team coaching process is a linear process. Unfortunately, it is not, because as you're doing more discovery, you find yourself more dealing with a plate of spaghetti, so to speak, and you can't see the end from the beginning. And therefore, it's important for anyone who's considering to be a team coach to also appreciate not to go in with a linear mindset, but to go there with a very curious, extremely, actually, it's more a very curious mindset, because that is what is going to help the team to navigate its journey in a more meaningful way. Yeah, and it's a and every coaching session actually is a training ground for the team coach. You get to learn much more about yourself and about other teams, and it also gives you another wealth of wisdom and depth of skill that you're going to harness and use with the next team that you meet with. And with that, I'm just also curious to hear, what advice would you give to any coaches beginning to develop this competency around coaching groups and teams?
Thank you, Kimunya. Absolutely very valuable insights. And I'm going to piggyback on what you said, as if I'm to share, as an experienced team coach, if I'm to share an insight to those who are watching this video, if you are considering to become a team coach and work with organizations, I think it's what Kimunya mentioned at the beginning. If you are a very good individual coach, even with a higher credential like PCC or MCC, and also then simply looking at the team coaching competency framework, these beautifully articulated sentences, and I must say that when you go through it, it almost gives you a feeling that, yeah, this is doable. This is very understandable. But like Kimunya said, that it is not that straightforward. What is really important is perhaps you understand what these competencies say on the surface level, but because of the complexity, working with many individuals within a team unit, working within organizational context, having to work with many stakeholders at the same time, you need to learn, go beyond just the team coaching competencies. It requires practicalities of how to manage a consultancy, how to manage relationships, how to work within bureaucracy, governance within organizations. Now that's where the things become complicated. So for that matter, I believe even beyond the ACTC credential, it's absolutely important to learn learn with professionals who have experience, coach educators, coach education programs, those who have implemented team coaching in real world. Now, as I mentioned at the very beginning of creating this program even before ICF introduced team coaching competencies. 5 years before ICF introduced the team coaching competencies, I created this program. And I even accredited this with ICF as a team coaching program way before even team coaching competency existed. So you might wonder, how did I come to gain an understanding about team coaching? Well, the best way I did was at the time when I was starting to work with organizations in the capacity of a team coach. I had a lot of background in organizational psychology, industrial psychology, and also having delivered consultancy, having worked within organizations as a leader. But I took a deliberate step and worked with several team coaches at this time, the leading top team coaches who were working out there. I worked with them as an apprenticeship. I received supervision. I received mentoring. And I also did a deep research into how to incorporate core competency with team coaching. At the same time, how do we engulf all of this from a consulting perspective, working with organizations? So, if our insights resonate with you, if you're starting to understand the depth of team coaching, we invite you to join us with our professional coaching advanced mastery certification for coaching groups and teams. And we believe we have one of the most comprehensive programs, which includes not just only coach education, not just only team coaching focused education, but also practicality, consultancy, relationship management, and various aspects, comprehensive aspects of managing a team coaching engagement. And we go beyond that. We also create an incubator. What do we mean by that? We provide you absolutely on complimentary basis a team coaching client or a group coaching client where you will be promoted through Ignite Global website, through our marketing channels, which means we also elevate your visibility through search engines. And these days, most importantly, AI being able to capture you as a team coach. Because as you're aware now, many people find services through AI. And in order for you to be able to be recognized by AI systems and algorithms, it's important that you're associated with highly recognized, highly well recognized online content. So, for an example, Ignite website is searched 1,000 times a month. Therefore, we have a very high ranking in both social search engine as well as AI ranking. Therefore, including your name, your details on the Ignite website and creating a promoting campaign and maintaining it throughout our as long as our website will exist provides you that immediate elevated recognition as well. So that is one component. And also we are an alumni network from around the globe. So as you're starting to recognize, when you deliver team coaching, as Kimunya mentioned, there are also certain other services that you need to incorporate. You cannot work alone as a team coach. You're required to work within an ecosystem. And we do have all those resources for you. As you notice, this program, our program and our approach is really industry focused. You might notice many ICF accredited education programs simply focus on a credential. Well, we also do provide beyond the education, practicalities, the network, the experience, the credibility, the AI elevated listing. We also can support you towards the ACTC credential as well as a credential bundle. And also, one last thing that I would like to mention to you is that at the moment, if you are, for an example, an ACC, Associate Certified Professional Coach, thinking, I would like to do my ACTC as well as my PCC, I have good news for you. Because in the traditional path, you will have to do a level 2 program focusing on core competency for the PCC. And then you will have to focus on ACTC credential through a team coaching program. However, at Ignite Global, what we have done is accredited our team coaching program at level 2, which means through our team coaching program, you gain all the knowledge required to move towards the ACTC credential. And then on the other hand side, because we have a very strong mentoring program, which also enables you to develop through ACC to PCC transformation that is required to happen, you are able to also utilize these hours in combination with our credential bundle, which includes the certification upgrade. If you have done your level 1 program elsewhere, we are able to upgrade your certification to a level 2 program with the second level 2 program towards the uh, team coaching certification. We also internally assess your 2 recordings, and we have a comprehensive mentoring program, and we also have the ICF credentialing exam in-house, and we also can provide you with one of our supervisors, the team coaching supervision required for ACTC. So in other words, how we have created this program and deliver this program is as of a one-stop service provider or professional development provider. You focus on your transformation, the development, and serving your clients. And we provide you everything that is required every step of the way, which is required for your credentialing processes, focusing on both PCC and ACTC credential. And we have a global set of not only alumni members and a network, but also faculty members from around the world. So if you would like to understand about the, the demographics, if you would like to understand the climate in how organizations approach team coaching, I believe Ignite Global is the place to be. So if you look forward to developing yourself further as a team coach, also acquire PCC and ACTC credential, we warmly welcome you to Ignite Global. I believe you will find all the information that you require through our website, where you can find the link below to our website, and feel free to connect with us or connect with me or one of our faculty members. Let's find out if team coaching is for you. We will assist you through strategizing your further professional development. So we look forward to meeting you. At the same time, I invite you to now continue on to the second competency, the team coaching competency, with the second video of this series. And I hope we have created some value for you today. And we hope that we have given you some practical insights to understanding what team coaching truly is. With that, I would like to thank you for joining us, watching this video, and also my sincere thanks to my faculty, Kimunya Mugo. Thank you very much for being with me today.